welcome back to The Gifted Ones, and I'm your host, Liz Throp. On today's show, we are going to discover astral travel and remote viewing with our amazing guest, Brough Perkins. Brough has been a practicing medium for 20 years, born in Montreal, Canada. He was not like other kids. The Ghostbusters gave him great comfort as he watched the movie to give him a sense of strength against the things he would see at night after his parents put the lights out. In 2003, at the age of 18, Brough appeared on national TVs as Much Music's top-watched specials of the year, Much About Ghosts. Brough was able to sense and name a 4-year-old girl who died on the property and subsequently haunted it for 100 years later. You can see that and many other appearances of his over 16 years on YouTube. He now resides in Barrie, Ontario, and continues his practice helping bereft people find closure as well as giving live guidance readings. You can reach him on broughperkins.ca, and we'll put all that stuff up, but welcome so much to the show, Brough. We're so excited to have you here today.
Well, thank you, Liz. It's nice to be here with you. It's been almost 20 years since I've been in Welland. Long time since I came down there.
I gotcha. Okay.
A long time ago, and walked the canal and had dinner at a couple of restaurants down there. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful spot.
It is an absolute, the Niagara region is stunning, right? It's like a jewel for sure. So let's get going on this interview, Brough. Can you explain to our viewers how your gifts work as a medium, as a psychic medium?
Sure, yeah. Well, I'm a clairvoyant primarily, and that means I have visions and images that come through, as well as small clips and almost like video in my mind that plays as I sit with a stranger. And what's important is that I do sit with a stranger and I know nothing about why you're coming to me. One of the things I say to my clients before they come in when they book a reading with me privately is to write their questions on paper a couple of days ahead of time. And I just actually interviewed on my show a parapsychologist from the States, not doctor, but professor paranormal, Lloyd Arbach. And he's been on The View, he's been on Unsolved Mysteries, Art Bell over the years. And I told him about this, and he really liked this concept because when my clients come, they don't tell me what their questions are, but I do the reading first, and then they notice when they pull their questions out after I'm done that the reading answered them in the order that they wrote them. And that's what evidential mediumship is. So my job is to provide evidence that something greater exists. Now, somewhere in the mix of all of that, hopefully, helpful information comes through as well. We have fun information. You're a medium yourself, so you understand this. You have fun little validations that come through, but also we hope that advice and guidance to undo people's patterns come through. A poem I came across in a book called A Course in Miracles sums it up really nicely, actually. It says, our job is to undo the past and the present to set your future free. Beautiful. So when we dive into your patterns and we heal them, then you will change your patterns and you won't go through the past again. And well, you don't have to be dead to be a ghost after all. So if
true.
You're really past.
Yeah. So true. Well, that's kind of how I do it too. I don't get them to write it down, but that's a really great idea. I might actually take that from you if that's okay with you. I tell people, don't tell me anything about you. I don't even let them speak during the reading. I may ask the odd validation. Am I on the right path? Just to make sure that because I'm getting confusing information. But yes, same thing. You get validation at the end of the reading that I've answered all the questions that they came with. And that's, if you're not getting that from somebody, you're not seeing the right person, is my thing to people, right? Absolutely, you're right on par. I was watching you on your website. You've got all your little media blurbs on there, and the one where you were on Much and you were talking to somebody over the phone, I think it was in Calgary, and how you were like just dropping bombs, and it was just amazing to watch. So fascinating guy, folks. If you want a good reading, this is your boy to come to for sure. So
thank you.
Yeah, no. I also noticed that you had an interview with Kristen Smith, a molecular scientist who used you in a study on paranormal activities. So can you share with our audience how, that study went? Explain that so that they can understand.
Yeah, well, Christian Smith is a doctor who works for Sick Kids in Toronto, and he was coming to me through a news program called the W5 here in Canada, which is one of our oldest investigative news programs. I think it's 53 years old now, so half a century, and they had Dr. Smith have a reading with me on camera to see if I'm real, essentially. And they were doing this during an expose of fake psychics in Toronto a couple of years ago. The book that you might be referring to, I believe, is written by Donna Smith Moncrief, and she is a criminal investigator in Canada, works for the government, and she was putting psychics on trial, essentially, and sending people undercover to us, recording the readings with us, and then she would score the accuracy with the client afterwards, not just once but twice. She would sit with the client right after they had a reading with me. I didn't know they were part of the study. They were just a normal client for me. Yeah. And then a year later, she'd meet with them again and play the recording back for them and score the reading again, this time assessing what things came true and what didn't. And I clocked out about 79% accurate.
Beautiful.
Statistics.
Yeah.
And what's really disturbing about that was my high school averages were about 79%. So I don't think I'm smart at all. I think I just intuit my way like a bat, bouncing off walls through. So that, and she said the accuracy could have even been higher if she had more money for a 5-year study per se.
Right, of course.
So that's what she was doing. So she was testing the accuracy that way and her real objective was to discover how this works and how to tell the difference between real psychics and fake psychics. And the book is called Medium 7. It's MEDIUM and then the number 7.
Right.
And you can find it at medium7.com. And that was the study that I participated in.
That's amazing. That's an amazing thing. I've never heard of that. So I'm going to check that out today for sure. So like that, the meeting that you had with him, like, because it showed it on the clip, and how you were, just really breaking it down. Now, this guy was, they were kind of questioning whether or not he was somebody who could be taken seriously in this because his mother was a psychic and well-known psychic. So, but it just struck me as incredible that you've had all of these, folks come to you and get validation. It's, I haven't had that in my career. I haven't had that constant, barrage of needing to be validated. It must just be something, for you, it must just be second nature now.
Yeah, well, Dr. Smith, his mother is a psychic, or was a psychic, and he's writing a book about his psychic heritage. But, the thing that they skipped over with the W5 and something that I'm going to be having in my book, I did a very long reading on Dr. Smith on camera, and the camera crew that was filming this for the W5, I mean, they were doing double takes with each other because they just sat with a bunch of fake psychics, the type in trailer with the neon signs and stuff, drawing up curses, and you've got a curse for $5,000, I can fix it. And this crew was sitting listening to this all week, and then they saw me do a reading on Christian Smith, and they were blown away, and they only showed the most superficial aspect of that reading, where I told them what his grandfather's name was and that he's proud of you. And it's like there was like 50 other things that were really important things, but they cut those out because it would have taken away from the story, which they were trying to slant it as all psychics are fake.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And so the other thing that they forgot to mention was Dr. Smith is a molecular biologist and a neurosurgeon. He's incredibly intelligent and highly, highly educated. And that has to count for something when it comes to investigating certain things like this and evidence. He's an expert with evidence. He's an expert on empiricism, which is a fundamental aspect of science. And Sandy Ronaldo and the W5 just sort of glossed over that and Christian Smith believes because his mother was a psychic. It's this was a shame to journalism.
Yeah, I
An
agree.
absolute journalism. And I wrote a scathing letter to the producer.
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
Just as an outside perspective, though, I was really enlightened by it because I thought what I got from it, because I guess because I'm in the industry, I was like, wow, good for you. Like you nailed it. Even though we, like you said, we only got to see that little spiel, but because there's this highly intelligent man, clearly highly educated man saying, yes, this guy is real. This Brough Perkins is the real deal. I got that from that clip. So for the record, that's what I got from it. So you know. Okay.
Oh, I'm glad,
Yeah.
Liz. And then did it for you and for people like us who are doing what we can to stand up for this. I was thinking this about the fact that you have your show here. And I know a lot of psychics. I have friends who are psychics, and a lot of them are way too shy. They're not like you and I. They're not comfortable expressing themselves, and so they would never come on a show like this. But you and I are psychics, but we're also interested in performance or broadcast to some degree. Yeah. And so I think our ancillary gift or our secondary gift informs us and helps us to display this to the public and try to get the message out about the difference between the real and the fake
100%.
Nonsense that's out there. And I said this to Dr. Dean Radin too, who's a physicist and an engineer who studies psychics under laboratory conditions. He wrote quite a few books. He was on Oprah a few years ago too. And I said, back in the day, before medicine existed, you'd have a healer in every town. You'd have sometimes a snake oil salesman and then sometimes a really gifted healer. But when we finally institutionalized medicine and made it so that you had to have a degree to practice, that's when we got rid of all the fakes.
Yeah.
And I think there will come a day, hopefully, that psychics have to go and get a degree. Otherwise,
I love that. I love that idea.
Nonsense.
I love that idea because, even though, like, just doing this show and with your show, you probably realize the same thing. Just the more people you communicate with, the more insight the more awareness that you get from others. And it's like, wow, you feel connected, but you also get like more awareness. And that's all this is. It's just putting the awareness out. But I should give you full disclosure. I am absolutely somebody who could never leave her house and just be away from people for the rest of her life. But I have this thing that I have been doing since I was about 18, which is conquer my fears. And anything that scares the crap out of me, I push myself towards. Being on this type of social media or doing Facebook Lives, it is not my favorite thing to do. But the more I do it, the better I get at, like the more comfortable I feel. But I am never comfortable really doing it, just for the record.
Well, I'm glad you are, and I'm sure all of your listeners and viewers are too, because I was watching some of your videos, and I was actually, before you and I called, your last episode that I saw on YouTube had a shaman on it, and I was like, oh, so cool, and animal guides and stuff. I mean,
I know.
This is you're learning and you're diving in, and people also, they wake up and they have to go through the mundanity of their life and going into their cubicle jobs or driving in the car to work, and they get to listen to something like this, and it's a departure from the mundane.
Exactly.
And it connects to something deeper, and I think that's important too.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. So let's get on to what our topic is today, because it's such a cool topic. It's something that, again, full disclosure, I hadn't really ever practiced, to be honest with you. I knew of it. Or let me say, I didn't realize I was practicing it because I've done remote viewing and I didn't realize that's what I was doing in readings. But astral travel is the one I want to start with. Can you explain to our viewers what that is?
Right, astral projection, astral travel, out-of-body experience, it's all different words for the same thing. The ability to project yourself, your consciousness, your awareness outside of your physical body. And most people report this on accident. If you've been incredibly sleep deprived, or if you're in a medical incident where your heart stops or something, and you find yourself suddenly on the ceiling looking down at your body and looking down at the room. And most actual people have experienced this or will experience this at one point or another in their life by accident. But I stumbled upon it back in the 1990s when I was a teenager still. And I stumbled upon a man named Bob Peterson, who wrote a book for free online, which you can still read. out-of-body experiences. And you could Google Bob Peterson out-of-body experiences and find that book and read it. And it walks you through. And what really struck me about his work was he's an engineer, after all. He's like a computer technician type. And so he very methodically explains how to do this, what the process is, how he came about it, what kind of experiments he did, what kind of pitfalls to expect. For instance, one thing he said, when you finally do make it out of your body the first time, you're probably going to be blind. Which I was. I couldn't see anything. It was all black. And it's because you're not used to using spiritual vision. You're used to using your physical eyes. And so, these sorts of things, reading his book prepared me for it. And it's actually a very simple process. It's just, it's a dedicated one. You have to practice it over and over and over for months and months and months before you can condition yourself to finally leave your body. But once you do, it's really fun. A lot of teenage boys are into this, I discovered. Now, I thought I was the only one.
Okay.
But when I start to participate in the online forums and stuff, I'm hearing from teenage boys from Asia, Africa. Well, Africa's in Asia, but, Europe and everything. Young boys, because it dawned on me, what boy doesn't want to be Superman?
Of course.
Everyone wants to fly around and be invincible, and it's kind of that little. And I think men have something in their pituitary gland which makes them want to go out and explore in a certain biological way, whereas women are more. Not to say this is the rule for everybody, but more often women are about taking care of what's here and at home and being the boss of everything. And so it's really interesting to see how this is informed by our biology too. Yeah, so I got into it when I was quite young.
That is, it was incredible, because I watched a clip on you. That's how I discovered you, and your experiences are what kind of piqued my interest. And I thought, I thought tonight I'm going to try this. I'm going to just go take some time, and I'm going to see how hard is this. And of course, it was hard. It wasn't easy. But I'm thinking, of course, if I believe it's hard, it will be hard. And then I went back and I read some of the I didn't read the whole book, Peterson's book, but then I went back and I tried it again and again and again. And ultimately I was able to get myself out of my body, but I couldn't get through the door. So the door was... And then I remembered reading something about allowing yourself to imagine solid things going through your hand. I still haven't gotten over that hurdle. I can't go through solid material. It bothers me. It's really bothering my psyche to do it. And I was wondering did that happen to you?
To this day, I still have trouble
getting
through something.
Okay.
But what happens for me is I'm not even a body anymore. Like I used to have a body when I would leave. I would project some kind of an idea of my ideal body. But now I'm just a point of consciousness, and I'll sort of muddle around or float around the room, and then suddenly I'll be outside in the backyard. It's as if, because I have trouble moving through objects, I just skip them entirely.
Okay.
So, well, you'll get used to that.
Yeah. Okay, good.
It's just conditioning. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it must be. So what's the coolest place you've ever traveled?
Well, I guess I guess a UFO might have been one of them.
Wow.
I saw cosmic string filament, and so I was on this disc-like thing, and everything was perfect kind of metal. It was a dark metal. It was very stark, and men in suits, which I don't think is what they looked like, but I think it's what they were projecting to make me comfortable. Two men in suits were there, and they had me look at the screen, and there was a cosmic string filament. It was this really beautiful tear in the fabric of space-time.
Wow.
And that was really neat. But then I would say after that, I lost my mother when I was 25 suddenly, and after she died, I've been able to travel and visit her. And the first time I did was on Christmas Eve of 2010, and she was sitting in front of a fire on a chair, and she said something very personal to me about my father, which meant a lot to me at that time because I was going through something with him. And then suddenly she fades away, and the entire vista behind her, the fireplace, was gone, and there was just a wall of televisions. And these televisions were there, and I woke up and I'm like, oh damn, I lost my mother. I didn't connect properly, and why would I dream of stupid TVs? And then I go to Dad's house for Christmas the next day, and he bought everyone except myself a TV, a big screen TV for Christmas. And so it's these sorts of things that show you that it's something real that you're having. Now, you and I are psychics, so when people hear me have that dream, they're like, oh, of course you did, you're psychic.
Yeah.
But what's different with astral projection is you don't have to be a psychic. Everybody can access this. You can experience it. It's great for contacting your loved ones as well, yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think I want to point out one of the things you mentioned there, which is like everybody, because you're a psychic, there's assumptions about you and assumptions of, this is easy for you or you can do this. And it's actually not that, I find it more difficult for myself to connect with my loved ones on the other side than I do for other people. And I don't know why that is. Did you find that hard to get in touch with your mom?
Well, I think I would have if I didn't do astral projection. I think astral projection's the side for me because astral projection, it's something I think bigger than psychic ability. I think it's more of a fundamental thing. Every life form has an ethereal body or an astral body, which is from something higher than the physical, and you can access that and leave your body. And if you do, you'll be able to experience these things. And the other thing it's really handy for is ghosts. I mean, if you're dealing with a haunted house, there's a particular house in Oakville that used to have a farm on the property, and I'll visit there sometimes when I'm out of body because I did an investigation there in person, and a teenage boy had hung himself to death in the 1970s, and he is super cute. His name is Brandon, and I always tell him I wish I could pinch his bum because he's got those Japanese bell bottoms on. He's so cute, but he terrifies everybody. The in-laws left and ran to a hotel one Christmas because the door of their bedroom was opening and slamming shut in the basement. So you go downstairs into the basement of this house and you turn down a long dark hallway and you'll see Brandon peek out of a door at you and then pull his head back in or walk down the hall and you go down and there's nobody there. And the matriarch, the mother of the house, comes in after work, says, oh, I'm home, thinking maybe her son or her daughter's there.
Of course.
Nobody's home, but she hears Brandon go, it's just me. So this disembodied voice, and it's terrifying. But I'll go and visit him, and I administer psychotherapy to him. I try to help him make sense of his life and move on, because that's the thing is holy water and salt and all these things won't help. You need to help them let go of what they're afraid of, because like I was saying earlier, we hang on to our past and then it causes us to relive it in the present, and then our future is closed off to us. Right. So if you heal your past now, you get to have a new experience tomorrow, and you could be alive and a ghost. You don't have to be dead to be a ghost.
Yeah, that's such a profound statement, my friend. Such a profound statement. So it would be...
That's what you're helping people with all the time.
Right? Yeah.
You're freeing from their past.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so true. I gave away
our secret sauce, Liz. I told them the secret now.
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's not special anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But it is.
Watches the shows that we do, so no one will find out about it.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, hopefully... Anyway. So many people will see this, but what would you say, those at home that are watching, the selected few, what would they need to do to start the process? Some tips, I suppose.
For astral projection?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, meditation is always a really good thing to start practicing, because the way I describe meditation is you're so used to looking through your physical eyes and feeling through your skin and your nerves that you need to learn to sensory deprive yourself. Like a sensory deprivation tank is a great place for meditation, because you're disconnecting from all the distractions of the outside world. And, if it's a beautiful sunny day outside and the sky is blue, you could look up and you won't see any stars, but that doesn't mean the stars aren't there. It's just that the sun's light is so bright that it's distracting us. We can't see the stars through the sunlight. But when the sun sets and you get all that light pollution out of the way, and if you don't live near a major city with light pollution, then slowly, one by one, twinkles into sight the stars and the planets. And when you learn to quiet your own senses, physical senses, slowly but surely twinkle into view and your awareness, the spirit world. And so that's the first step, and you have to get used to quieting your senses. Then the next step after that is the technique, which is to relax your entire body and essentially wait until dreams start, and then wake yourself out of those dreams without flinching a muscle. And you do that about 3 times, and then you'll hit the vibration stage, which is quite alarming. It either feels like you're being shaken to death or electrocuted. And if you can stay calm during that, which is a feat in and of itself, because people are always shocked at how real that is, no pun intended, they're shocked about how real that is. If you could relax through that and sort of imagine swinging in a hammock is what I do. You'll pop out of your body, and then you can play. You can run, you can jump, you can fly out the window.
So with that being said, they could follow those practices, but definitely that online book by Patterson would be incredible. Like it's a free, and you've already mentioned that. We'll put that in the link below for anybody who's interested. Now, what's the difference between astral projection and, say, remote viewing? Is that the same thing, or is it quite? Because here's the thing, and the only reason I'm asking you this is because I have done many readings where I'm not intentionally making myself leave, but I will be, all of a sudden I'll find myself standing in front of somebody's house, and it's while I'm doing a reading, and it's because I have to tell them where they need to go to, and it's typically a water concern in the home, which is weird, but I will be drawn in, and the door's always open, and I will tell them, I'll explain their house, I'll explain where I'm going, to the left or to the right, upstairs, downstairs, and then I'll find myself in either a bathroom, a laundry room, or a kitchen. Like, it's always those 3 spaces. I don't know why. It's just one of those things. And I've never been able to pick up anything else. It's always water issues. So is that remote viewing or astral travel, or is that just psychic insight? What would your thoughts on that be?
Well, it's a remote viewing, but I think they're connected. I think astral projection and remote viewing are kind of mechanistically connected, because we, of course, had remote viewers that would be tasked with going to the same location at the same time, and without knowing that they were doing it together, they would see each other at those locations. They would see a figure or some kind of mass and sense a presence. And sometimes the American remote viewers who are working for the CIA would even run into Russian remote viewers who are spying on the same location or
Wow.
guarding. And so there is some kind of essence of projection. And the thing is, I really prescribe to the idea of astral projection. Out of body is a way of making you think that you leave your body. I don't really think we do that until we're dead. I think even when you astrally project, you're just projecting your awareness out like a probe, like a drone. And nowadays with 21st century technology, drones with cameras on them, you can fly your little drone. It's got a camera on it, and you can go on a little adventure in the sky, but that doesn't mean you've left your body. You're just sending a device. And I think that's what we're doing energetically when we astrally project. So you cannot go through something like being locked out of your body. People are so used to forgetting their keys or getting locked out of their house or their car. They think they could get locked out of their body when they astrally project, or that some other entity can come and take over, and that I don't think happens.
No, I never even actually had that fear. Isn't that funny? But yeah,
you're a psychic, so you know better, because you and I are all over the friggin' map and different places and times, and we're used to it. We're like, I bump into walls, physical walls, as if I think I should be able to go through them. Like, who put that wall there? It doesn't go away.
that is so funny. Like, I never even thought of it like that. Yeah, if you're doing it all the time, of course you're gonna just forget, right? Of course. Like, I put that wall there. That's
Ended by the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
What's this?
So that you did mention that the CIA use remote viewing tactics in spying, and do you want to just go a little bit more deeper into that, because I've read about that study and it is fascinating.
Yeah, well, it is. It is extremely fascinating. The documents have been recently declassified in the last 10 years, and the American Central Intelligence Agency and several other defense agencies with the U.S. government funded psychic research for 21 years in the United States, from the 70s through the 80s. And Russell Targ, Hal Puthoff, and a bunch of others were the leading experts and scientists. Russell Targ is a laser physicist, and Hal Puthoff is also a physicist and an engineer. And these men worked with great psychics like Ingo Swann. Yeah, so great psychics like Ingo Swann and various other members of the Stargate program were tasked with using their abilities to spy on Russia, to see into mysteries, also just be tested. And the U.S. government and fellow agencies funded about $21 million to this program over that 20-year period of time. Now, you don't get programs that the government funds for 5 years,
Right.
let alone 10 years, let alone 20 years, and you don't get $21 million unless it's got some kind of useful outcomes that are happening along the way, because they're always going through review.
Yeah.
And in fact, through several presidents and several committees, it still survived until as happens, a new president came along, a new party came along, and deemed it not necessary. Also, the satellite network grid finally came up, so they didn't need psychics anymore to Russia's backyard. But it was very successful, and there are some great documentaries out about that now. So
yeah.
In
Amazing.
fact, a chief statistician, and a statistician is a person who understands mathematics at an incredibly sophisticated level. Dr. Jessica Utz reviewed all of the psychic experiments with the remote viewing program and briefed the United States president on the fact that as a scientist, she believes that there's high evidence for psychic phenomena.
Wow.
And I mean, again, these are highly accredited people, and the skeptics and the people who naysay are often people with no degree.
Right.
Much less no scientific background or anything. They're just, James Randi was a high school dropout and a magician from Toronto.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, yeah.
And the beard is stupid.
Yeah.
A stupid beard, but he's a. But that's the thing, is these magicians who are experts in charlatanism and faking it are the ones who are the lead critics of psychics.
I know.
But that's because they're looking at what we're doing from a superficial level, saying, wait, there's something that seems magical about it, so they must be faking it like we fake it.
Yeah. That must
There's
be why.
psychology called projection.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's face it, there are way too many people who claim to be this out there who are charlatans, who are the worst people on the planet, taking advantage of people. I have run into a few of them in my lifetime, and I can tell you, it infuriates me. It absolutely infuriates me, not so much because it's my industry. If you were an electrician and you screwed somebody over, or a plumber and it happens in every industry, but for some reason, we kind of get painted with the same brush, all of us, right? When you have one or two bad apples, but it happens in every industry.
Yeah.
So, so when we travel like this, it's something that gets easier over time, I suspect. And what's the furthest you can travel? So you went to space, so obviously there's really no limit, right? Like my goal, to be honest with you, my goal is to visit the pyramids. I just wanted to see them from that perspective, right?
Do you see the pyramids now, or do you want to go back and see the pyramids when they were actually being occupied and
you can do that?
It's not.
I didn't know you could do that. So you could go back in time as well. Oh my gosh. I did not know that. So that's fascinating. Yeah. Well, now I want to go back when they were being occupied. Are you kidding me?
One of the cool things about remote viewing, similar to what you and I do, is we don't let our clients tell us why they're coming. And the remote viewers, who are the psychics, because remote viewing is just another word for psychic. It's more attractive to military, so that's why they use that term.
Okay.
But the scientists would give an arbitrary target, so it'd say like L9216. And the scientist would know that meant something like Russia at these coordinates at this time period. And the psychic would then, without knowing what that meant, would just tell them all the visions they had, and it would, of course, be Russia at that time period. And one of the cool things that they discovered was they gave some coordinates to a psychic to test the psychic. They already knew what was there. It was this sort of a place in California, and the psychic described something and was wrong. The psychic said there was a water tower and all these things, and that stuff didn't exist at those coordinates. But then they looked back, it did 50 years prior.
Oh,
and so that's when they learned that they have to include a temporal coordinate, not just a geographical coordinate.
Right.
So So they took some psychics, and without telling them anything, they told them some coordinates and time period millions and millions and millions of years ago, but it was Mars.
Oh.
It was the planet Mars. And the psychics, not knowing that it was Mars, describe a planet with pyramids on it, very tall people. Their environment was going through a cataclysmic disaster. They were at the end of their life cycle. A group of them had been sent off somewhere far away to find a new home.
Wow.
They landed on the new home. There was very odd plants there. And it starts to make you think maybe Mars was where we came from and we migrated to Earth. That's why they can't find a link between humans and apes.
Wow.
Martians.
We're all Martians. I love it.
We're from Mars. And we're going back there
and
now,
we're going back there. How fascinating, right? It's quite fascinating.
Yeah, that's the cool stuff with remote viewing, yeah.
Very fascinating. Well, you've just been a wealth of information. I could talk to you for days and days and days. But unfortunately, we have to keep it to a time frame. But thank you so much, Brough, for all your insight and your wisdom and the exciting stuff you've shared with us. I don't know what to say other than you're the best. You're the best, my friend.
You're the best,
no,
my friend.
You are. No, it's you.
What did the one psychic say to the other? You're fine, how am I?
I love it. I never even heard that one. See? I knew I needed to talk to you. I love it. Well, you've just been amazing. So thank you so much for joining us today. And make sure you guys check out the next episode and make sure to like and share our shows. Spread the word. Let everybody know about this amazing topic, astral travel and projection and remote viewing. Thank you.